If you have like the lowest note, whatever the lowest note, like in this case E, because we're in standard tuning, you can think of it in the same way that we just think of target notes. Okay, the thing is, when we're building parts like that, in this instance, those low notes, they're gonna hold a lot more weight. Okay, so if you have a chord, if I have my A chord and A is the lowest note, that's going to be the most stable, right? If E is the lowest note now, E's the fifth. Now the fifth is not an unstable interval, but because it's the lowest note, it starts to take over a little bit, and it's not going to sound as stable and as grounded, right? Almost like the foundation of a building, as the root does. The third is going to sound even less so. So because the third is like your color tone of whatever the chord is, whether it's flat 3 or natural 3, right? The fifth is always going to be more stable. That's why like all the Green Day songs are like power chords. That's the interval of a fifth, so that sounds really stable. So you think like the same thing applies if we're going downward. So that lowest note is the fifth. It's going to sound unstable, but the most stable other than the root note. If you go to the third or especially the flat 3, it's going to sound it's going to start breaking apart a little bit, but it's not going to be out of the context of that chord. If you want it to sound like we're talking about that super dissonance, like a D sharp minor, that would be your most abrasive for the lowest note. Your lowest note, your foundation, no longer is strong because you've picked the most dissonance, and in that case it's a flat 9, it's a flat 2, only a half step up. So each tone gets further and further away from the stability of the root note, right? Root note, the fifth is going to be the next one. The third of the chord is generally going to be the next one. The fourth is pretty stable, but it's not a chord tone, and it's also not a tension, so that could, right? The 7 all the way down that low is going to be pretty unstable, like the natural 7, as well as the flat 7 if we're in minor, and then it just keeps peeling back to like getting to the tritone, if you had like right the tritone or the flat 2, right? That'll be like the least stable if you wanted that. Instead of doing it like up there, you could do it down below. You're adding literally that kind of a sound down below.